Hi, welcome back to Campaign Terrain. I'm your host Cross. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make the doors I had in my modular tiles build. I showed you the one that was on the small little attachment here where it fit on the walls, and you can also make them where they're freestanding, where they'll just glue onto a wall. They look like this. You can use them with the latch to the right or the left, so they're reversible up until the point you glue them on. You can use them on any kind of build. You can use the rest of them on any kind of building you want. They'll take you almost no time to make it all. This is about 40 minutes worth of work, and as you can see, I've got a whole pile of them here. The longest part you have is waiting for the glue to dry. They're pretty simple, they're pretty easy, and they look great on your buildings. Stick around, I'll be right back to start the explanation. First, we're going to talk about the materials and tools you're going to need. You're going to need some wooden tongue depressor type flat sticks, either coffee stirrers or these that are called the skinny sticks. A coffee stirrer, that's what they are. A pencil, some kind, doesn't matter what kind, just need something that you can leave a little mark with. You're going to need some type of square wood that is thicker than these. So I've got these, what are called wooden dowels. It can be basswood, it can be any wood you get from anywhere, it can be balsa wood. Glue, I use PVA. Elmer's glue wall is somewhere between the school glue and the tacky glue. You can use any type of glue. You could do this with hot glue, you could do this with super glue, anything that works for you, but I've been using the white glue and it's been working for me all right. You're going to need something to cut with. On these, I've been using this larger utility knife, the kind with the snap-off blades, and I've been using the wider one. I'm not sure what thickness that is. After that, you've got the pieces put onto the wood, and you need to hold them in place while they're drying before you actually get to the cutting part. So you're going to need some clamps to hold them in place. It doesn't have to be this kind. It does not have to be as sturdy as this. You're going to want to clamp both ends, and you're going to want to clamp the middle. Once you've got the wood laid out and you've got your doors laid out, and then you cut them to where you need them, then you're going to need some of the pieces for the stiles. The pieces that run a long way on a door are called rails, and the pieces that run across a door are called stiles. I also put a latch on here that's is essentially just a smaller style. This is just a basic door from the medieval type period. I don't do anything fancy with it. I don't put a bead on there for a doorknob. Those were not common in medieval times. Stiles and latches are made out of matchsticks. You can use actual matchsticks, or you can use these little wooden sticks. You can use anything that you want. It does not have to be as thick as these. You can use a thinner wood. You can even use a small piece of plastic or a piece of chipboard to make those. You're going to want something to cut those off with. For that, I typically use the little nippers that most people are familiar with. These are in the floral section of the hobby section, but you can get these anywhere. They're not all that expensive. You're going to need something to sand the ends of it with. You're going to need some type of card. I typically use just packaging from food. I do this to glue the door to it. I make the door in an entire assembly, and then I simply trim off the edges, and when I'm ready to use it, I glue it onto the house or building that I'm using it on, unless you're gluing directly onto the building. If you're gluing directly onto the building, when we get to the portion of the layout, all you need to look at is the layout. You don't actually have to put it on the card. All right, let's get into building. Again, we have to talk scale. As I've mentioned before, my scale is 1/4 inch equals a foot. Most people use an inch as 5 feet. I use an inch as 4 feet. A lot of people build a 1 inch wide door. Well, if you're working on a 1 inch scale, that makes a door 5 feet wide on that 1 inch. I don't make a 5 foot wide door. I make a 3 foot wide door, which is 3/4 of an inch. You can see that on the top. That's from this line to 3 of these dots. That happens to be just about the thickness of one of these sticks, or a lot of coffee stirrers are the same size. I need 3 of those to make the doors. We're only going to need a few of these. All right. Now, to keep them generally lined up before I put them together, I'm going to take the pencil and draw a line at the end of one of the sticks and at the other end of the stick, and that way I've got a line to line up the other 2 sticks as I glue them. I'm going to take my white glue, and I'm going to run a bead about 1/8 of an inch in. That's half the thickness of one of the sticks. I should be doing this over cardboard. I don't want to get glue on my mat here. Alright, I'm just going to take that and place it on that line. I don't know if you can see this, but this line does not want to match up. It's got a gap in the wood, so that's why we clamp them after we're done. Run another line for the second piece of wood. Put that into place. Run a third line for the other one. These don't have to be perfect, just has to be enough to hold the wood together. So I'm going to want to put that on top of that line. I'm going to line these up on one edge, and I want to line them up with each other. That does not really matter because this is longer than 3 doors long. Either way, I'm going to end up with more than enough, but it saves me having to trim off one of the ends. So that's ready to go. You take these clamps, you push the piece together. You can do 4 or 5 of these layers at a time. So this layer could then have more glue and more sticks, but I'm not doing that today. I'm just going to go ahead and show you to take this and go ahead and clamp it. You want to clamp from the ends to make sure they're held. Then, before you put the clamp in the middle, you want to take another stick and press down into that groove to make sure that your sticks are pressed up against each other inside your door panels, your rails for your doors. So you want to take those and push those down. There we go. Against each other. Then you want to take your another clamp and put it in the middle. When you do that, you're going to want to arrange it sort of in the middle here so that it keeps those together. And you can put as many clamps as you feel that you need to be comfortable with those drying correctly. It can just be 3, it can be 15, but at least 3. You want the 2 on the ends and at least 1 in the middle. Once you're done, you end up with this little sandwich like this. Now, one of these does not really have any glue on it, but they stick together because of the glue running through. So you're going to want to take these, find the one that comes off, just pop that off. The next 2, they can end up glued together, so you want to be careful. You want to take something and cut between them just to make sure that they don't stick together. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do this really quickly. I'm going to put that knife in there into that groove. Then I'm going to get my hand out of the way of the blade. And there you go, just like that. And that's enough for 6 doors. As you can see, there's a little bit of a gap. That's okay. These are peasant doors. Those gaps won't matter. If you want, you can put some type of filler in there. Those are ready to go. I can do those next time. Here's one that I did poorly, not intentionally. I don't know if you can see that on camera because they're different colors. But these 2 are fairly close to lined up right here. And then this one has a gap on it. So I'd want to trim that off so I have a good place to start from. So you'll take your knife and just take a couple of quick passes across here. And you can pop those off, or you can take them and press them down however you need. But you want to get those cut off and smoothed across to where you can start. Here's somewhere I've already done that. Now my doors, as I said, are 3/4 of an inch wide. That comes out to 3 feet. I make them 6 feet tall, or 1.5 inches. So I've already marked these at 1.5 inches, 3 inches, and 4.5 inches, which makes 3 doors, 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. I've marked off which piece is too short to know which one to cut off, and I've cut off the ends. All you have to do to cut off the ends is take them like this, make a few quick passes. That was tough. And you can go ahead and break those off and make sure to save all of these pieces of wood. They can be used as rubble, as just planks. You can use them for different builds if you needed a curved piece. These are really useful, so I save all of my little offcuts of wood. Alright, that's going to leave a jagged edge here in the bottom. So you want to take that and either just take a couple of quick passes like that with your knife, or you can take scissors or shears and cut those off. I'm just going to hit them with my knife and they should come right off. Should, I say that. Okay, once you've got those trimmed off and you've got your doors measured out on there, you're going to want to take this extra little strip over here, this almost 1/4 inch piece off here. Again, same deal. Just a couple of quick passes and that should come off. Now this time you're going with the grain, and I am cutting at a slight angle under, just to make sure that I don't have any pieces standing proud of the door. And a couple quick passes, that pops right off. Again, save all your offcuts. They're really useful for all sorts of different projects later. As you see, I've got a few others here. All right, that's going to leave a bit of a rough edge on one side. We'll take care of all of the sanding in just a minute, so just hold on that. All right, now the same as everything else, just a few quick passes across. And you're going to want to go all the way through these top rails. You want to get through the rail boards until you are actually cutting into the back tongue depressor. You can cut all the way through the craft stick if you want, or you can just get to the point where you can snap that off. You want to hold really close to that line so that it doesn't split under the other door too much, and you can go back and forth, and it's going to leave that. It's going to have a little bit of a jagged edge. All you got to do to get those off, same deal. A couple quick passes. now we're to the sanding part. This is a little rough on both ends and on one of the edges. So we take a sanding stick or a piece of sandpaper, file, whatever you have to use. And I don't know if you can see that, but that piece is standing out. This is a fairly rough grit, and I'm holding the door at a slight angle under. Again, same reason, so that there's no backing board standing proud of the door. And all you have to do is go all the way around the perimeter, and that's going to take care of any rough edges on any side of the door. And then you've got a door blank. Then we will take some of these matchstick pieces. Again, these are the ones that are like this. They're called mini wood sticks. They look like matchsticks. You could use a matchstick for this. And you're going to want to cut these at 3/4 of an inch. You're basically going to want them to fit on the door. So what I'm going to do is get a new one to show you. Like I said, each of these dots on my mat is a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go to 3 inch, or 3/4, leave a mark, go to 1.5 inches, leave a mark, and go 3 more quarters and leave a mark. Now, when you cut these with the clippers, they try to shoot off and fire off at you. So when you go to cut them, make sure to keep you want to line this little edge of the blade. If it's got a little angle to it, you want to make sure that edge is in that crease you just made. When you cut it, you want to make sure to hold both sides so it doesn't send it off shooting off. Now these little pieces, save these. These are going to be your latches. Okay, and we're going to need 2 stiles and 1 latch. Save that for later. On these, I typically use a tweezer, but you do not have to. You want to take something to put your glue on and make yourself a little puddle of glue. And you're wanting this glue puddle to be just about 3/4 of an inch long. I'll show you why in just a moment. Alright, now the latch vertically needs to go in the middle of the door. On horizontally or laterally, I'm not sure which, you don't want that in the middle. You want the latch off to one side. So you essentially want to center the latch on one or the other of the 2 lines between the rails. It does not matter which way, because once your door is complete, left or right only matters on how you place it on the wall. Take the latch, dip it in the glue. It only takes a little bit on here, doesn't take much, but you can put on as much as you want. Keep in mind, anything that runs out, you're going to need to wipe off. Alright, so a little bit of glue on there. Place it roughly in the middle of the door vertically. If you know this is going to be a right or a left, you want to place it off center a little. You want to make sure to place it a little bit lower. Doorknobs are not actually at the middle of doors typically, they're halfway down. But for ease, I always put mine in the middle. Alright, so you just want to center that vertically halfway. Now, these can go anywhere you want. You can put them right at the top, you can put them almost to the latch, you can put them somewhere in the middle. I generally go for about a 1/4 inch down. That's about 1 foot from the top and 1 foot from the bottom. In scale, that's probably a little weird, but it just makes it easy for me, and I keep all of my doors uniform that way. This is why you want it 3/4 of an inch wide. That's just the width of the stile. So then you take the stile, place it where you want it, stile, dip it in the glue, place it where you want it, and you want to kind of press that down just a little just to make sure that it's situated, and then put that away to dry. Let it dry for like 10 or 12 hours just to make sure the glue is good and dry on there, and the pieces aren't going to move around on you, and then you're not going to reactivate the glue if you go to paint the door. Once they're dry, other than drying times for glue, there's no time to this at all. You've got a bunch of doors, they can be left or right, it does not matter which way you go with those. All you have to, that's just by choice. Now, if I'm putting them on a door on a house, I make it match to, say, the way the front porch is built, or the way the sidewalk or the pathway leads up to the house. I make it, or sometimes if I know I'm going to be playing using the inside of the house with playability, I make it so that if it was really a door that was swinging, it would swing the correct direction. Now, most of my houses are playable, but they're playable by picking up the house and moving it off and playing on the space below. So that I never make swinging doors. Any door you make in this manner is automatically either a left or right when it comes time to assemble it. It does not matter up until that point. So let's talk about assembling the door and attaching it to the building. you're going to want to take a piece of your card that you have. You don't want to use something really thick like the back of a notepad. Those have the same type of card, but it's much thicker, and that's going to leave a noticeable gap on your build. You're not really going to want to do that. You want to use something thin like this. You could even just use regular cardstock, which is thinner than this, piece of construction paper, which is thinner than this, just something sturdy enough to put that door on. You want to lay that out. You want to take one of your doors and put a little glue on it, just enough to stick it down. Again, this does not take a lot. And this is going to bond fairly quickly because you're gluing wood, which the glue likes, to paper, which the glue likes. So this does not really take all that long, but I'm going to go through this kind of quick. So this may get a little squirrely on me and move around, but you know how that works. So if you're trying to make a door, you know how to make it work so it fits. All right, next thing. These are the frames. Now, the door is 1.5 inches tall. You're going to want your frame to be 1.5 inches tall. There's also a top piece across. For simplicity and ease sake, I make that 1.5 inches across. That means every time I'm cutting one of these, it's 1.5 inches in length. So I'm going to cut some of these to put on this door, and you can see, and then we'll trim one of these to show you afterwards. And I did it wrong. There I went and set it the one way, and I did it the other way. I'm going to go ahead and fix this. I'm going to put this off to the side. You're going to want to put this on the side with the ink, because that way when it's finished, just in case anybody ever sees the back, they'll only see the brown. I can't think of a place where that's going to matter, but just in case, we're going to go ahead and put it on the ink side. That's the glossy side. That's not going to interfere with the glue. The glue grabs onto that just fine. All right, so let's try this again. All right. Now, we're going to take these and cut them at 1.5 inches. To cut these, you can't really get through them with the nippers. So what I do is press really hard, then I turn it 1/4 inch, make sure I'm still going in a square line across there, make sure that it's perpendicular to the edges. Press hard, turn it again, press hard, turn it again. Make sure, just in case these two lines are a little bit off, you want to make sure where they're at, and you want to cut from line to line so you didn't end up with a weird edge. If it's a little crooked, that's fine. That's not going to matter. It's going to look, like I said, a peasant house. If it's got 2 lines or 3 lines, it's going to look very strange. So once I've done that and I've dug those in fairly deeply, I now have a line all the way around, and I just bend until it snaps. Okay, that's again going to leave little jagged edges, and same deal as before. Take your utility knife and cut off those little edges. If you need to, you can go back to your sanding stick and take those ends off. And that's all there is to it. Those are your sides. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue the sides on, and then you understand how the top's going to work. You do the same thing with the top. I'm not going to do that now because I don't have another dowel ready to cut. So tiny line here. I suggest, but you do not have to, that you also put a little bit of glue along the door, just so this rail or the frame sticks to the rail. Alright, if you end up with any extra squeezing out the sides, this is when you're going to want to clear that out. So get any glue cleared out of that little groove, and that's ready to go. Any of this that squirts out on the side, on the outside, isn't going to matter, because you're going to, one, when it dries, it shrinks up and that bulge or gap is going to go away. You can also cut off that part and not have to, and you won't have to worry about it. Now, once these are done, I generally just sit something a little bit heavy on top of them just to hold them in place. It can be glue bottle, anything, doesn't matter. All right, put that off the side. All right, now you've got one that's left on the card. Just to make sure that that's ready to go in the house, we're just going to take this and cut off all the card. I don't know if you can see this, but the glue oozed out here at the top. That's, as I said, that's not going to matter because we're going to cut this off. Again, we're going to use the knife at just a slight angle to cut under and hide any of the imperfections on that. A couple of passes with a sharp knife. Now these can be used for lots of different scrap projects as well. You can save those or not. If you don't, please put it in your recycling. Don't just throw it in the trash. All right, let's think green. Okay, now doing the sides are a little bit more complicated. Okay, this one's cut free, but you're also going to have to go here under the edge of the top of the door frame, the lintel of the door, and cut under there as well. And that's going to take that little piece of paper off of there. And that's going to leave you with a little piece here at the edge. Same deal, pop that off and you're good to go. So, let me get this one off real quick. Now, I'm really right-handed, so I hope you can see this. I'm cutting slightly under, and I'm cutting across. Taking that off. I left a little piece here on the edge. Let me get that off. Okay. And then take this little piece off the end. Now the back ends up just being brown, and that's all going to be hidden. You're going to take that and glue that to your building. And that's it. You're done with the doors. All right, I'm going to be back with some closing notes in just a minute. If you come back for that, great. If not, make sure to follow us on social media and catch us in all the usual places, and we'll see you next time. Okay, hope you enjoyed the build. As promised, I came back and I got a couple of prototype houses. These are what I've been working on. That one's about 4 inches by 4 inches. This is about 4.5 by 4.5. Those will be in a future build. But as you can see, that's what the doors look like on them before you paint them. They just attach right to the front. You put some windows on either side. You can have little windows on the end. You put a back door on it if you want to have a way to get out to, like, say, the wood pile or something like that. Really simple build. Hope you've been enjoying what we've been bringing to you, these doors and all of the other builds. If you have, make sure to please like, subscribe, and share, and keep track of us on social media. We'll see you next week. This has been Campaign Terrain. As ever, I'm your host, Cross, and I love you, and I will see you next time.